Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode 57 today. Happy New Year to all of you out there. Hope that it was a good New Year and hope that the New Year is off to a great start for you so far. And we're excited to dive into some incredible topics today, some fascinating, interesting topics today. Man, a lot's happening in the world, and there's a lot that's happened over the past just few days. But what we'll be talking about and covering is the capture of, how do we say his name?
Is it Maduro?
Maduro,
I'm going to look it up.
Venezuelan president.
Yeah.
And
I confuse him with the New York president or the mayor. That's why I struggle with the name. Mandolini or I can never remember that guy's name.
We're going to be talking
Anyway,
about
we're talking
that.
about him.
Yeah, we'll talk about him. We'll talk about the continued developments in Minnesota as they continue to uncover and investigate the daycare fraud there with some of those Somali-owned businesses.
Yep.
But then also Tim Walz withdrawing from the governor race, which definitely seems to be pretty incriminating. But also have a very exciting announcement to make to our audience, and that is that next week we will have Victor Marx on the show.
Yep.
So Victor Marx will be here next week. We are set to record with him, and we will plan to release episode 59 that will feature Victor Marx. So we've got episode today, and then we're going to have episode 58 next Tuesday. That will be another episode with me and Micah, and then episode 59, be on the lookout for that next Thursday, and it will have Victor Marx as a guest sitting right here on the set, having a conversation with us. And we're really, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be excellent. I'm really excited to chat him up a little bit today, too. So the guy's name is Nicolás Maduro.
Nicolás Maduro.
But it says Moros at the end.
Huh.
Yeah, he's the Venezuelan president that was arrested for narco terrorism and trafficking.
So, I mean, you've seen a lot of people really excited about this. You've seen a lot of people really polarized by this. And I think that one of the most important pieces of information that I saw put out by somebody, I forgot who it was, but they were talking about some of the similar decisions that Obama made during his presidency.
Mm-hmm.
One of those being
Bin Laden.
Bin Laden.
Yeah.
He got Bin Laden. That was without congressional approval, nothing like that. And he still did it anyways. And you didn't see people complaining about that from either side of the aisle, right? I mean, so Trump acted as commander-in-chief to do something to try to keep our borders safe, to try to keep our people safe, to try to stop the flow of drugs, to try to stop the crimes that were continuing to flow from Venezuela. So, I mean, that's what I'm convinced of, but at the same time, there's always going to be ulterior motives. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be oil to be, harvested there, and there's going to be economy and commerce to ensue. But I also think that Venezuela, it's very clear if you just look at the reaction of the people there, and on so many of the videos of people showing their excitement that his reign is over. This is over, and I think that that's important to understand. If people are out there rejoicing, clearly this must have been a pretty bad dude. Clearly he was not leading the country in a way that the country wanted to be led. And from my understanding, there was already somebody who won an election there, and he didn't allow there to be an overturn.
Yes.
So all kinds of crazy stuff going on over there that led to this moment. And I do think that hopefully the majority of people agree with Trump's decision to step in and intervene. And those who don't, hopefully they can take a step back and just look at the whole picture and just know, well, maybe this is actually helping people, because at the end of the day, if that's what it did, if that's the goal, then it seems like that it was accomplished, even if it's just measured in Venezuela alone and not even the blowback in the United States of America, which I do think that it's going to be a net positive for us, because it will be keeping some of those drugs at bay, but it will also open up commerce. And Trump's already stated the commitment for American companies to go into Venezuela and help them basically jumpstart their oil production again.
So you had an excellent summation. I was looking for something. I actually thought I screenshotted it yesterday. I failed myself, so I apologize. Something like 100,000 dead, 30. I think it was 3,400 people missing, families killed. They had this whole stat sheet on what he's done to Venezuela, and the numbers were just like staggering off the chart. And that was over in Venezuela, which didn't even touch what was being brought into America on the narco trafficking side of things. So, I've got you mentioned bin Laden. It's funny because, you get these people out in the streets right now that are protesting this stuff that a month ago were protesting in a No Kings March. So, you got the same people going, no king, and then a month later going, we want this dictator freed. Like, you can't even make this stuff up anymore. And so when I saw they were bringing him back for trial, they went in and captured him, as opposed to they could have gone in and killed. It's very interesting to me because they brought him straight to New York. Did you see the footage of them driving through New York?
I did.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And, of course, he pled not guilty, which he's going to say. The amount of drugs directly correlated to him, what I hope is between the CIA and other investigatory agencies that they've established a direct pipeline right to his front door.
Yeah.
And how I want to see if there's a correlation on just how many Americans have died because of that. Because there's this whole screaming of free him and we don't have a right to go do this. The bin Laden thing is 100% perfect example. That op was put into play, 100+ days of training and retraining at a built compound that mimicked and replicated the bin Laden compounds that those guys knew what they were going into, and they still ran into trouble there. Had a helicopter go down, had to exfil out, had to change up the op, but they got him. As you said, nobody complained because 2 big buildings fell down in New York and just over 3,000 people died. And I guess it felt more personal than 50,000 people dying because of drug overdoses that are being brought in, trafficked from Venezuela. That's astonishing to me. It's just, it's hard to believe that we're even having some of these conversations. We mentioned Tim Walz, and of course him not running for re-election. No surprise there. Nick Shirley, kid that nobody had even heard of a month ago, just single-handedly destroyed Tim Walz's re-election bid, single-handedly. And
well, we can't forget about. I think his name was David, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I mean
Can't forget about
there's a couple.
David.
There's a couple.
This has
people.
been David's life's mission.
Yeah.
Life mission, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm just referring to the video that was put out. But he took something. I have like 19 rabbit trails I could go down with this stuff. I want to see. Somebody had a post out the other day that said, I want to see charges in prison time. And then they had put, so I failed twice this week. I wish I had captured this, and I will go back and dig it out. This person had a 50-ish year history. This is going all the way back to like JFK type stuff, so even further. So 63, JFK was killed. Had this history going all the way back that showed the amount of people that have been removed from power and never prosecuted for crimes significantly greater than anything Nixon ever did, and Nixon gave up the presidency, stepped out of the presidency, and they went all the way to current day. Like here's the amount of people that have been charged, notable people, huge names, and they said, we want to see Trump start doing this thing that he promised, and that was bringing the Epstein stuff and all the things we've talked about. They want to start seeing convictions, and I'm with them on that. I think it'd be really, really important that if this fraud scandal is as legit as it looks, that Tim Walz goes to jail. And I think that brings a lot of peace to America. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're corrupt, you go to jail. Like that's the whole point to this. Like there's got to be an accountability, and people are tired right now. Man. And so I think the Venezuelan thing just kind of put an exclamation point on it.
Let me just tell my honest opinion here. I think that if people were really put in jail, we probably wouldn't have much of a government left. That's just my opinion.
You mean if they drain the whole swamp?
I think that if corrupt politicians were to be prosecuted and put in jail, we wouldn't have very many politicians.
Yeah, insider trading alone would wipe out a significant portion.
I mean, insider trading, definitely a problem. But I think that this Somali fraud with the daycares in Minnesota, that's got to be the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if two YouTubers, well, I guess it's really, I don't really know if David, the older guy in the video, has a YouTube channel or what, but obviously he's been working to uncover this information and verify this information for a long time. But if a YouTuber like Nick Shirley can just go and make a video and uncover this, imagine, and I'm not discrediting how much work that those guys have done and put into it, because obviously they had their ducks in a row. So kudos to those guys. We need more people to follow after Nick Shirley's example.
Yeah.
To go be a real honest journalist, regardless of what the mainstream media is going to say about you. And but the whole point is of what I'm saying is that that's the tip of the iceberg. I can only imagine how much actual, if that's just sitting there in the obvious, as obvious as it is, how much more fraud is there that would be almost impossible for anybody without a certain security clearance to find out about?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very telling. And I mean, that was the entire point of Doge with Elon, was to uncover a lot of this waste and this fraud and get rid of it. I mean, it's not fair for people to be paying 20 to 40% of their income to a federal government that is just burning their money away.
Yeah.
If not burning it away, putting it in their own pocket, which the majority of it is absolutely. They're putting it in their own pocket somehow, some way. It's landing back in their pocket. And I think that this small scale, it's still huge, but this small scale fraud in Minnesota, it's so telling to how corrupt the government is. And I think that this is not even hitting some of the most, what would the word be? Some of the highest grossing revenues in the country. This is not even touching that, because we've still got, this was considered a sect of healthcare, childcare.
Yeah.
But then you've got healthcare, you've got insurance companies, you got pharmaceutical companies, you got all kinds of dollars that are flowing because of deals with the government.
Yeah.
It just seems very obvious that for a long time, it has been money taken from the citizens of America to be put into politicians' pockets, to be put into pockets for deals for those who sit in the seats to represent the country to benefit from, not for the citizens to benefit from.
Yeah. I mean, we got to, this podcast could be 6 hours long. I mean, we could break this up into 3 segments. I mean, we got a veterans problem right now. We're losing, the count, the 22 a day statement that's thrown out there all the time. I mean, if we're physically losing that, and we have the ability to take care of them, and yet we're taking care of people that are coming from other countries, illegal. The whole Minnesota thing with Tim Walz signing the driver's license thing, legal or illegal, you can have a license. The only thing you need to vote in Minnesota is a license. Well, you just bought the election, and very few mainstream media people are even talking about this. So yeah, there's a crap ton of stuff to uncover.
The most important piece is that Tim Walz withdrew from the governor race. Even after signing into the bill, what should have bought him the election, he knows. He's got to know this is bad. There's going to be a lot of investigation that's going to have to go into this. I'm sure it's going to take some time in a process. But regardless, for him to withdraw from the governor race, I think is very telling that there's guilt. There's a need for him to shift his focus from trying to rerun a race that he probably already knows now he's not going to win. And he needs to shift his focus to be able to start spinning a narrative to fight some legal battles. That's what I'm assuming.
I guess. I mean, it's great that he's stepping out of it, but I'm with the gal that wrote the article. I want to see the accountability. I want to see the prosecutions on these things. I don't, it's fine that he stepped out and he's removed himself, but there is a element, something psychologically speaking, in the liberal mindset that either allows them to not acknowledge and have accountability, or to see the fallout from the problems they're getting ready to do. I mean, he was running his yap 3 days ago about Maduro. He was talking about how this is Trump's greatest failure and blah, blah, blah. I mean, how do you look into a camera knowing that you've got the most notable story in America going on right now at your back door, and you're going to sit here and critique somebody for going in and pulling off a precision operations? I mean, Trump signed it off. SF goes in and gets him. They bring him back unharmed to hold the guy to account for tens of thousands of deaths, and you're yelling at the president as a governor of a state. You know, my problem with all of that is the people in Minnesota. Like this, if you elect it, it's like here. It's no different here. It's Polis signs the House bills into effect, go mutilate kids. We hold parents accountable if they try to intervene. And then all he wants to talk about is Trump's budget. It's all everything's a redirect. Everything's a redirect. I've got to think in my heart of hearts they know, but yet we keep having these conversations about how in the world do you not see this stuff? And yet they're the ones that seem to make it into power. And it's astonishing to me. Is it just because the country wants it so easy and so free? And is that why the push for socialism is so astoundingly, like the movement is getting so large right now? And yet you can't. So I'll paint this in a different perspective for a second. So I've been to Aruba a couple different times. You can see, on a clear day, you can see Venezuela. So if you've never been, just so you know, Aruba is about as far out in the islands as you can get. And I can tell you, sitting there looking at it, the first time I looked at it, I was like, is that Venezuela? And I'm talking to one of the local cops. He's like, oh, yeah. That's our number one enemy right there. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, we run heavy artillery boats day and night, 10 miles offshore in international waters. So all of you guys that come in and do your scuba diving and snorkeling and stay at your all-inclusives, you guys go that way to go dive. We go that way to go protect you. And I'm like, well, you know, we're talking kind of cop to cop at the time. I'm like, well, what's your biggest concern? And he says, dude, the drug trade in Aruba is non-existent, but the battleground is in the water. And he goes, you'll never see it on a news source anywhere. He goes, but we smoke these guys all the time. They're constantly pushing go-fast boats in our direction because Aruba has a port of entry over there for major cruise ships where you can come in and you can dock and they let these people off and they go inland for a couple of days while the ship stays and refuels and does all the things that they do, and then they go back out to sea. There's a whole thoroughfare transit that goes over there that you can't touch. There is a safety measure that is put in place. And I had numerous conversations. They actually have elite boat SF guys that are Aruba cops, and all they do at night, and you can watch it, you can see it about 10 miles out. You see these little tiny blinky lights. But yeah, they're running in many cases stealthed out over there, and all they do is hunt narco traffickers. That blew me away. I heard that the first time I was there was our 20th wedding anniversary. So that was 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was there 3 years ago, and it had increased substantially. The presence and the patrol in Aruba is considered the safest of the islands. And the reason for it is because the patrol is so heavy. But you do not touch that water. It is, I mean, it really is. And I looked at some of the boats, and I'm like, these guys are equipped. It is some high-end drug trafficking intervention techniques that Aruba uses. Wow. But, and it's all on one side of the island. It's all controlled from one side of the island. So they're constantly running FLIR and all sorts of things done. I mean, they have a high-end operation. It's very, very cool. But that just tells you how bad it is. Yeah. And he's like, dude, they just execute people over there all the time. So the people are cheering right now for a reason. Yeah. Over there. No doubt. Standing in the streets for a reason.
Liberation.
Yeah.
I think it was Elon, maybe. It was Elon, or it was somebody who had put out, and it was a video of them celebrating, Venezuelans celebrating on the streets, something like that. This is Venezuela's Independence Day. Yeah. That's what the post consisted of, which is, I mean, that speaks so much for itself. Like, what more do you need to see besides people are like, yeah.
Why do you think people here are not accepting that, though?
Man, because people here won't accept anything.
I mean, it's just...
Here's the thing, okay? Let me just speak to what's happened with me over the past 24 hours. Okay, I put out a video for the gym.
Sure.
Just fun little ad. It's just a shtick. There's no harm. There's no even really policy or political content in it. It's just a remake, kind of a satire of a short clip of that meme that's going around, the Quality Leering Center.
Yeah.
I made one of those for the jiu-jitsu gym, and I put that video out. The Jiu-Jitsu Leering Center. That's what I said. I said, and I started the video like I was doing a documentary. You know, I was like, guys, here we have another Somali run and owned center, and I pointed up at the sign. And I overlaid Jiu-Jitsu Leering Center. Then we came inside, and I said, just kidding. This is American-owned and operated business. As you can see, we got kids in here hard at work learning jiu-jitsu. Showed a couple overlays of families training in here. Said we've got family programs, kids, teens, adults. We've got something for everybody. And then I said, no fraud or waste here.
So you basically did a Babylon Bee.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even just the messages and comments that I've gotten on that, which is just a fun little video, you know, it's just ridiculous that people can't just laugh and can't just find humor in things. Even if you don't agree, or even if you, which, by the way, I don't know what there is to agree or not agree on. It's pretty obvious that there was serious financial manipulation going on here in these daycares in Minnesota. And everybody wants to say, oh, no, it's not proven. They were just not open. Now the mainstream news, CNN, CBS, or whatever, have gone out and revisited those daycares, and there's people there, and there's kids there. It's like, if you go watch those videos, there's like 2 or 3 kids there, and they're little pitiful interview that they tried to put together to try to spin a different narrative. Yeah. It's so blatantly obvious that they're trying to cover it up.
Do you see the same blonde woman at like 7 different daycares holding the sign?
No, I didn't.
Same gal.
No.
Same gal. It's absolutely hilarious.
That's just wild to me.
Yeah.
It's wild to me because, I mean, here you have this kid, Nick Shirley. Is he building a platform and a YouTube channel? Does he have that incentive? Sure. But also, he's just a kid with a camera, and he's walking around just trying to be a journalist, and he's succeeding in that in a way that I don't think the country has seen in a long time. He's being an honest, independent journalist, and if you listen to this guy talk, it's awesome. He's very genuine about his convictions and about the way that he walks. He talks about his Christianity in one of his interviews recently. He talks about how the world hates him because he is a virgin, because he doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, doesn't party. And man, a lot of that stuff just speaks volume.
Holy cow.
He's a little younger than me, but
barely.
What is really cool is he's going on Sean Ryan.
Yeah,
Sean
I saw that this morning.
So Sean Ryan, I think that episode's supposed to release on Thursday.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool to tune into that. Nick Shirley, just overall, I'm proud of that guy.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
He's doing good work, and hopefully he continues. And it's cool to see a lot of people stepping up to support him. Especially there's a lot of guys that are, in the private protection racket that are really stepping up and saying, hey, let's all pull together and fund some security for this guy. We don't want anything to happen to him or David. And that's cool because, I mean, there's been a lot of threats that have come in. I mean, you've seen on even the videos how the response has been toward Nick Shirley. I mean, people are not happy. But at the same time, that is something that needed to be done. And if he wouldn't have done that, imagine they could have just kept sitting in the dark, over $100 million in very blatant fraud, tax money being stolen to be given to these daycares that were not even operating.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and Tim Walz will say he didn't know anything about it, and everybody that is connected to this thing will say it's wash, rinse, repeat. Have you ever seen the movie State of Play? I would highly recommend it to anybody that is following this Nick Shirley Somali story right now. Russell Crowe, State of Play. It could not be captured better in the moment right now. It is exactly the thing that is going on, except for this has to do with defense contractors. And so they start digging into the story. The essence of it is they go, and there's like this primary company, and there's all these umbrella companies that this company owns for defense contractors. And we're talking like hundreds of billions of dollars of money from the DOD to these contractors to go overseas to do all these things. Well, they start going and they start knocking on doors, and there's the companies aren't even there. There's like a name on a building, and there's desks inside. Nobody. Company after company after company after company. And it's an exceptional story. And it all draws back to a senator who's behind it, who's taking insider grab and helping run the shell stuff. So it's a great movie. I mean, it really does speak to exactly what, on many levels, what's happening over there. So the thing I want to go back to for just a second, the question is the why, is the support. Why do you think, and I get it, it's easy to poke. And so I'm really trying to be genuine about this right now and not make fun of it. The whole No Kings thing, we're going to rally. It's going to be I mean, if you recall, this is just a couple, 3 months ago. This is going to be the biggest rally in American history. That's what it was advertised as. And I'm like, well, apparently some people forgot about Martin Luther King. I don't know. Didn't read a book or something, but it's supposed to be the biggest march. And why? What was it about? Trump's a dictator. Trump is this mean, terrible person. We're incarcerating and killing people in prisons, which are not true. All this malicious talk, these lies, all this evil coming out, making this stuff up just for people to get on this bandwagon. And the irony is we just arrested a dictator, and now they're out there going, release this dictator. What do you think it is? What is the disconnect? Because we're talking hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions, that are saying this is wrong. And I can't, maybe I'm the nitwit here. I just don't understand it. I don't know how you can look at your president of the United States who's the president of the United States, and you know none of the things that are being claimed about all these atrocities are true, and yet you got a guy who's just been arrested that statistically speaking, people can substantiate how many people he's killed, how many families are missing, the narco trade, the embattlement between the people and the military over there. I mean, just on and on and on and on and on. There's video after video after video after video. You see people in the streets cheering the same way when Saddam Hussein went down, the exact same way when Gaddafi went down. People live under these dictatorships, and the second these people fall, they flood out into the streets. That just tells you how terrified they were of the regime and stepping up. And yet you got people here defending this on every level. Why? Why is that happening?
I think that one of the biggest reasons is because there is this kind of mentality that's been woven into parties, separate sides of the aisle, to where no matter what, our job is this guy's wrong. No matter what he does, it's wrong. I genuinely think that there's so many people on the left side of the aisle. It doesn't matter what Trump or his administration does. It doesn't matter how right or wrong they are. It is nothing but we are going to completely denounce this, going to denounce this guy, going to just say there is not a single chance that any decision he makes is right. I think that those are some of the extreme examples. I don't know that all of them are that way, but I think that a good majority of them have been that way. But I also think that if you look at the mainstream, like really left-wing, kind of almost extreme sect of that aisle, of the left aisle, it's a lot more built on conflict than I think really anything that we've probably seen, at least in the 250 years of this country. Why would I say that? If you look at videos of some of those people, it's all screaming. It's all losing your mind. It's all going berserk and going crazy, screaming about nonsense. And if somebody comes and just tries to talk to you, and there's videos that you can watch of Nick Shirley doing this, just trying to talk to people, and they just get in your face and they just scream. There was a video with Nick Shirley, I don't know how long ago, I think it was pretty recently. There's this lady who flashes herself. I don't know if you saw that. And she's like getting all up on him. That lady needs to go to prison. 100%. If you watch this video, it's just mind-blowing that this lady, and there's people all around, and here we have Nick Shirley. He's not doing anything besides he's got his camera, his microphone, and he's just doing what he does. This lady literally comes and just pulls up her shirt. She keeps her shirt pulled up. She's just flashing him, and she's just screaming stuff in his face. And I think it's just an example of they want conflict because that's what they have almost been fed. This is your purpose and your identity is conflict. Scream at people. Scream at people. Use your voice, even if you don't know what you're saying, even if you don't know what you're defending. Just act like you do. And just scream, be angry, and be loud. I think that there's a lot of that comes into play with a lot of these decisions because I don't think that a lot of them even really know. They just had somebody who said, here's a sign that says no kings. Go scream about it. And then now they're saying, here, go scream. We should release this dictator. Trump did not get congressional approval to do this. Go scream this.
So are we just that lazy as a society that people have that much? I mean, I've heard stories that these things are paid, and I wouldn't doubt it. But I every one of these things that I look at, whatever the topic is, to your point, it is the same wash, rinse, repeat mentality. I mean, there's people running around in chicken suits, dressed half like women, half like men, hitting cowbells when somebody's trying to talk. I mean, there's just on megaphones. I mean, when I was growing up, we had things called insane asylums. I mean, when I was a kid, like we had legitimate state-run asylums for people that couldn't handle society, that just did crazy things. Now it's like we exonerate it, we promote it, we push it, we say, hey, here's the new cool thing to do. And to your point, we don't know why, but just go yell. I struggle in my head believing that my fellow man, that we have that many people that are just that naive or ignorant or dumb or whatever, multiple describing titles, that they have so little purpose in life. They can find nothing. I mean, even if you took, so let's just say you take faith out of it. Let's just say people, I just don't believe in God. Okay, fine. But do you just believe in common sense? Like, do you believe in a hard day's work? I mean, do you believe in supporting yourself? Do you believe in taking care of your fellow man in any way, shape, or form?
A lot of these people do not.
And it's just,
a lot of these people do not. They're living on welfare. They believe the government is going to be the ones who takes care of them and should take care of them. I think that's where a lot of these people are. And I don't think there's any other real fitting word to use other than a psyop. It's sad because I genuinely think that a big part of the problem is mental health. And I know that with the way that policies have been written into effect, the government is not trying to help these people that are on the woke side of the mentality. They're trying to make it worse.
oh yeah, they're promoting it.
And they're doing it. Why? Why would they want to do that? Because they want them to be weak and susceptible to, hey, who told you that it's bad to oppose what you want? You get what you want. That we're the ones who said that. We want you to get what you want. If you feel this way and you want this done to your body, you should be able to do it. It's your body, it's your choice. Remember, we're the ones who said that you should be able to do what you want. Just think about that. If you were just to think about that in the context of a parent, that's horrible. That's horrible parenting. If you think about that from the government standpoint, it's like they are just being bad parents of a bunch of kids that have never been allowed to grow up because of the toxic nature of information that they've been fed, the corruption that they've been fed from the top down, from the system, from the schools, from the government of, hey, it's okay. All this stuff is what we want. You want this. We want this. We want to give it to you. We want to give you everything you need. Just rely on us. Depend on us. We're going to give you everything you need. Just vote for us. If you vote for those guys are the bad guys. They're not going to give you what you want. We're going to give you what you want. It's just like Arrested Development. Like you're not letting these people actually grow into independence and grow into maturity and be able to think for themselves and act for themselves. Instead, it's all, I got to depend on these people who have always told me if I just vote for them, keep them in office, they're going to give me what I want. They're going to give me what I need. That is such a lie. And they've doubled down on just making the mental health of the country pretty much almost existent. These people are sick.
Yeah.
It's a woke mind virus, as Elon Musk would call it.
That's actually very well stated. So Maduro's in custody, great. Walz is stepping out, great. Lots of things I think to be uncovered. Do you believe we're in the shift of a generation to where we're going to see potentially the fall of mainstream media due to the Nick Shirleys of the world?
Man, I thought that we were going to see that years ago. I think a lot of people did. I don't know, man.
Well, they've become irrelevant. I mean, like, I don't think people are tuning into it, but they're funded by big money.
I think that more people are tuning into them than we realize still.
Think so?
I think that there's still, especially an older generation, that is tuning into mainstream media. I think that that's pretty, if you just were to go and ask people, a lot of older guys, a lot of older ladies, they don't have X.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know what X is. They never even had Twitter, probably. Now, some of them, yes. I think that the majority of the population, I think they have pretty much discredited the mainstream media. But I think that there's a lot more people still tuning into it than we realize. And I think that because of that, I mean, you gotta imagine, even if you go on X now, there's all these debates on whether or not this daycare fraud in Minnesota is legit and why. it's because of mainstream media.
Yeah.
So they're still factoring into the equation and not completely fully discredited as I think that they should be. And it's honestly, it's because of how much money is behind. I believe it's because of how much money is behind them. I don't know that we'll see them go away altogether anytime soon, just because we have, I mean, look at, if you just go follow the money, you'll see these people want to be able to put together stories quickly. And I think that they still see that the most effective way to get information that fits a narrative in front of as many people as possible is still mainstream media.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I do think that we are in the middle of a shift, and we've been shifting for a long time. And I think that the majority of people know better than to just take mainstream media at face value.
It's that's a tough one for me because I mean honestly I can tell you I haven't turned on a physical TV and watched a news report. I over a decade easily for me. Now I can pull up a story online and read something about it, but as far as sitting down, pulling up a news channel, opening it up, and do it, no. And I don't know anybody in my circle of friends or their circle of friends that do that. So I would hope that there's going to be a collapse on some level because my head's all over the place. I'm trying to envision the 25-year-olds that are sitting out there screaming right now, sitting in and watching CNN. I just have a really hard time with that. I think that they're source fed in a very different way. What I do see, to your point, is a bunch of blue hairs watching Fox News at night. I can totally see that.
Blue hairs.
Yeah. My generation term.
So here's the thing. I don't think it's just sitting down and watching mainstream news on a TV. Whenever I say that people are still watching it, I think that it's just still a lot more familiar on some of the apps on your phone.
So you're talking social media.
You just swipe over to news, and you've got news articles from different mainstream media.
Sure.
You Google the news or whatever, mainstream media is what pops up first right now. If you go on X and you hit news, you're going to have a lot of independent sources. Same thing on YouTube, but still on YouTube, the ones that probably have the most familiarity are going to be the mainstream channels, and they're all on YouTube now too. Yeah. So a lot of the mainstream media is trying to double down as quickly as possible to get on all these social media platforms. And that's where I think we are probably not going to see them just go away altogether, at least not anytime soon. But hopefully sooner than later. And what is good and what is definitely unquestionable is now more than ever, we have the ability to tune into independent news sources like we never have before, which ultimately has to lead to more accountability because, but there's also, man, we could really talk for hours because we could talk about AI and how that's totally changing the landscape of things because now we're going to hardly be able to know what's true and what's not true.
That's right.
But regardless, let's circle back to Maduro. So this was interesting. He being taken into custody, driven through New York, and we had Mandani. He posted something on X about this guy coming through his city and how he doesn't agree with the decision, whatever, that his priority is the safety of New Yorkers and all this stuff. There's this guy, his name's Anthony Pompliano. I've been following him for a while because he's a crypto commentator. I was into crypto quite a bit a couple of years ago, still a little bit, not much as much as I used to be. But Anthony Pompliano, I just happened to see that he responded to Mandani's post about Maduro being in New York. And Anthony Pompliano says in his post, I'm paraphrasing, he says, hey, it is in our best interest for you to lead New York well. I may not agree with you. I'm paraphrasing. You could tell that this was the tone of what his post was. I may not agree with you, but I still would like you to succeed in your role because New Yorkers are counting on it, myself included. And he says, rather than just oppose this without any context, this would be an incredible opportunity for you to go and sit down at an extreme example of socialism and see why it failed. Ask him every single question you can think of because you have the best example that is living right now that will be able to give you a blueprint of what not to do. And a lot of what this guy did in Venezuela mirrors the exact same policies that you're lobbying for and trying to push in New York City. It was awesome.
Well, it's a great piece of advice, except for he's going to go over there and he's going to get the playbook from the guy and he's going to run with the playbook.
Well, yeah, listen, I'm just pointing out how well stated that was from Pomp and how wise that is. That's like, man, how could you not receive something like that?
I say that out loud about Trump too. I wish he would do that periodically. Stay out of the games, stay out of the name calling, lead the country. Get after it. I think it applies to both sides of the aisle. And I like that you pointed that out, that this gentleman who is, I have read things that he has put out before. He's a very wise and discerning guy. I think that there is a lot of discernment and wisdom in it. Will it be done? No, it won't be done. He will do just the opposite of it. I mean, when you swear in on the Quran, New York's headed to bad things. America's headed to bad things. And it's every boundary probe. I think that's what makes this podcast to me so important, is because we can talk about relative issues. We can talk about faith. We can talk about our EDC. But we almost always come back to, in conversation, something that is happening that is a boundary probe. Everything is a push. It's push the envelope, push it further. And I think it overwhelms the average person where they don't know what to do. So they just try to exist. They're just kind of going from point A to point B. I always in my head go back to Michael Douglas. That movie was so far ahead of his time in Falling Down, where he had just hit his wall. And he's like, enough. Yeah. Just leaves his car in traffic, takes his briefcase, gets out, and goes and does his thing. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that right now. Not that they're necessarily going to do it, but they just feel it. And it's like you just can't keep up. So you're sitting down, you turn on whatever channel it is, or you open up whatever app you got on your news, and you go, oh, Somali daycare fraud. You don't think anything about it. You just read it, right? Somali daycare fraud, Minnesota. Whatever. You go to the next story. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, you open up, and there's this kid that you've never heard of, some 23-year-old out there who's got a video camera, who's got 100 million views on one platform alone, and he becomes a household name overnight, and now he's on every podcast in America. In what, 30 days? Less than 30 days? Mm-hmm. And you go, wait a second. This is a big deal. Yeah. Now, what do I do with that as an average American? Well, part of me is going to jump up and down and be mad because my tax dollars going to Minnesota. You know, got enough problems in the world. Now I got to worry about this.
Yeah. You know what we need to do?
What's that? Go.
We need to figure out where there's fraud and waste in Colorado. That's what we need to do.
You want to start at the governor's mansion?
It probably would not be that hard to put together some dots and figure out some shenanigans going on in our state. It probably would not be too hard.
It would be a walk in the park. I think at this juncture, this podcast is dedicated to me to some degree of awareness that we have a country that, quite frankly, is lost right now. We're protesting against a guy who is a dictator who's killed 100,000 people under his reign. Horrific atrocities, things being brought to America, people in the street going, release him. We want to feel good about this. My question right after so let's play hypothetical, and we go, yeah, you know what? We got the wrong guy. Let him go. All the protesters in the street go away, and then what's the next thing they protest for? So the silliness that is going on right now is, from a contextual standpoint, I don't think a lot of people even know what they're protesting, to your point. I think they're just going out and they're yelling. We've got to somewhere, at some point, somehow, I kept saying it years ago, so I guess I'm just wrong. I thought we were going to hit critical mass. I thought we were going to get to a point where the tipping scale was going to go the other direction, and people would go, and they would have an aha moment kind of collectively across the board. But they didn't. And if you go backwards in time to September 11th, 2001, 3,000-ish plus people died. 2 buildings came down. The financial infrastructure of America was targeted. And we just elected a mayor who swore in on the Quran. So I don't know what the tipping point looks like anymore. I don't even know that there is a tipping point anymore, because there's so many different things that are happening so fast simultaneously, coming from so many different areas. It's hard to focus on any one thing, other than if you are of faith and you believe in Jesus Christ. That's where then your focus goes. But if you're outside of that and you're just trying to keep up with a rat race, dude, I think to your point, we could probably grab 2 video cameras, go out and just go. I mean, we could literally launch a whole new channel on finding stuff. And it probably would be fun. If we could, anybody want to do a GoFundMe for Jared and I to go do this? Great. I'm on board. I'll do it tomorrow.
Hey, even better than a GoFundMe. Anybody out there listening, you got any
sponsor?
leads?
Want to
You
sponsor?
got any leads for us? You got any leads? You got any things that have been uncovered? You got any connections to somebody that knows that there's something up to snuff, not up to snuff in Colorado? Hey, we'll go video it. I would happily go video some daycares in Colorado that are closed and fraudulent, or some healthcare centers that are not really measuring up to be whatever they are supposed to be. I mean, first of all, I love Colorado. I want to be able to live in Colorado until I get old. I want to live here for the rest of my life, if I can, and I probably can. As of right now, I know that this is where God wants me to be. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay here, and I'll fight for Colorado, and I'll fight for my community. I will be here in every way that I can be. But if things get horrible and I feel like God's okay with me going somewhere else, then I would have to do what I have to do. I hope that things get better, though. I hope that things get better because I love this state. I love the people in this state. I love the community that's here in Castle Rock. I love the community that's here in our businesses. And I would like to have less people leaving because of how bad Colorado is. It breaks my heart every time that we've got a family that says, hey, man, we're going to have to move to Texas. Yeah. Hey, man, we're out. I'm sorry, man. Colorado's getting harder and harder for us to be in. So,
well, Victor Mark said it about his own kids. Yes, we talked about that on a previous episode.
Yeah. I just want to see Colorado get better. And I want to do anything and everything I can to help facilitate that, because I don't want kids to continue to suffer. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to think about kids that are being fed some of these same things from schools and from the government and from these programs, whether they're psyops or whatever. Regardless or not, we know what it really is. It's spiritual warfare and it's corruption. And I don't want kids in Colorado to suffer. I want kids in Colorado to thrive. I want Colorado to be a place where people know, man, those kids are being raised right. Those kids have a good system in place. They're being raised with good heads on their shoulders. They know the difference between right and wrong. And I think that a lot of that, it happens to be that we are pretty reliant on the government as a whole. I mean, if you think that we aren't, just look at our schooling system.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're going to discredit some of these programs for daycare, for childcare, that's something that's very needed right now because of how expensive things are. People have to work, and most households, both parents have to work, have to hold a job. So then what do we do with the kids? Well, whenever they're young, daycare. Whenever they get of age, they are in school. And most of these families, they can't afford a private school option, so public school is just the default. It's what's required. What else can we do? And whenever the system is that broken, that's where it's become, where it's very obvious they're taking advantage of it. They're taking advantage of it because they know that, okay, these parents have no other choice but to put their kids in our hands. And when they put their kids in our hands, how can we make sure to break these people down so much to the point where they have to have a built-in vote for a certain party? It's pretty blatant. It seems almost, if you were to just look at it from that lens, it seems almost undeniable that that's exactly what's happened, is to try to build this dependency on a party from when you're a child all the way to whenever you turn of age. Is we're trying to secure the vote by way of what? Getting kids dependent on us. The best way to get kids dependent on a government is to make kids confused and not even know their own identity, but then have somebody who, since they were a kid, telling them, hey, it's your life, it's your choice, you can be whatever you want to be, just vote for us, we'll make sure that you can have whatever you want, we'll take care of you. That's the biggest and greatest lie that there ever is. The government doesn't care about kids. That's very obvious. It's very obvious that the government doesn't care about our kids. Are there some politicians? Are there some people running for office that are trying to change things? Or are there some that are effectively changing things and looking out for kids? Yes. But the overwhelming majority of government clearly does not care about the kids. I can say that confidently, because if the overwhelming majority of government did care about our kids, abortion wouldn't be the problem that it is.
Yeah.
Our schools wouldn't have the problems that they have with mental health and with gender issues. They wouldn't have these problems if the government actually cared, if the majority of government cared about kids. So it seems very obvious that this is some serious issues that we've got to face, and we've got to be able to come together. And I think that what do we do? How can we do it? I think that it's uncovering things like Nick Shirley. I think it's showing to the whole world, hey, this is just what's going on. You can take it or leave it. It's amazing how many people are so quick to just discredit, not only discredit, but just hate. Just hate and just spew out a bunch of garbage and just act like that it's not face value. It's so you just look at it. You know that there's stuff going on that's wrong. If we could do that in Colorado, I think it'd really show why we need a change, you know, and I think that we've already got our option of, here's Victor Marks, his program and his ministries. They've not taken any money from the government ever. They're all completely independently funded, which is an incredible testament to his integrity, even whenever he's been offered money from the government. You know, someone else who's offered money from a lot of people that he refused from was Charlie Kirk for his organization. And I think about him very often because I think about, to your point, as you're asking, man, I thought there was going to be this swing. I thought there was going to be this pendulum swing. I think there's a lot of people that have thought that. And I think that we've kind of just seen it do this, where it's just kind of swinging back and forth. There's not any major, huge shift or change. It's just kind of ebbs and flows. But I think of what Charlie was doing, and I think that that's the most effective thing we can do. Because these people that are on one side of the aisle and extreme about it and just screaming about whatever the narrative is now that day on X or whatever groups they're a part of, whatever they're getting their information from, they're just ready to get out there and scream whatever the new message and narrative is. A lot of those people, they just need help. They need somebody to walk the road with them and say, hey, do you understand that this is what has happened? And these people don't actually have your best interests in mind. These people need somebody to care enough about their mental health to be able to tell them, hey, there's a better way. You should be able to think for yourself. You should be able to live for yourself. You shouldn't be dependent on the government. You should be able to have some independence. And that's what Charlie did. He was helping people by dialogue, by talking with people, not by screaming with them. You know, there was times when he was smart, when he would make his point and he would have to stand his ground. And sometimes people would probably receive it as kind of rude. But at the end of the day, I don't think that I know anybody that has converted as many people into just thinking for themselves. Even if we're not going to make this political, forget about switching from one party to another. Just enabled people to think for themselves. Get out of a systematic way of thinking that's institutionalized and just think for yourself. I don't know that there's been anybody else that has led more people to being able to think independently for themselves than Charlie Kirk did.
Yeah, you said a lot. I agree. I mean, we definitely need people out there that are promoting independent thinking as opposed to manipulating and doing. I come back to, and maybe I'm on the struggle bus with this. I'm not sure how you help people that don't want to help themselves anymore. There used to be ways to do that, and you have to have your own self-awareness and discernment and willingness to effort yourself away from the problem. I think it starts with the Charlie Kirks of the world. I think exposing things like the Nick Shirleys of the world are important, but there is just this consummate disconnect in society upstairs in people's heads that I'm not sure. I'm not even sure who I would trust to diagnose it, and I don't know that anybody would even accept it. I think people would just push back and say, nope, no authority over me. And because they're doing it in every aspect and every vein of everything in society as it is now. So imagine pointing a finger at somebody and saying, we think you have a mental health issue and we want to get you some help. And they're going to look at you and go, you've lost your mind. You have a mental health issue and I don't need any help. And that is just, you can watch 14 gazillion YouTube videos and you're going to see that. So I don't know. I still think there has to be some type of hard reset. Sean Ryan has referred to this. Eli referred to it when he was here on our podcast. You know, and Eli's got a pretty good perspective, being Navy SEAL overseas, multiple tours, coming back. And one of the things that he said that was very interesting is that Congress is typically about 10 years downstream from society. By the time society does their thing and it gets to Congress and they realize they got to enact law to change, he goes, there's one-offs that are anomalies, but for the most part, that's about the time frame. And it's really very true. It's very interesting. So envision 10 years from now. Look at where we're at now, and then imagine what policies might be coming into effect or what laws would be coming into effect predicated on circa 2025, 2026. I don't know what laws you would be writing, but man, they'd be pretty wild considering what we're going through right now. So that's probably my biggest concern. I'm looking forward to getting Victor on the podcast and there'll be many things that we're going to talk about. We don't let the cat out of the bag, but really looking forward to just hearing his convictions on this stuff and allowing him to speak.
Yeah.
I think it's so important right now that people, at a bare minimum, have a wake up, if nothing else, to see how bad it is. I'm just not sure what that thing is that's going to paint that picture. Because from a societal standpoint, I don't know how you can convince millions of people that something is true when it's so blatantly true and they're unwilling to see it at any cost. Any cost. And that's what it seems to me we're facing in America right now. Like, it's right there. It's right in front of you. It's kind of like standing outside and it's like a blinding snowstorm and somebody's telling you, it's sunny and 80. And you're like, no, it's not. That's literally what we're doing right now.
All right, then you go outside in shorts and a T-shirt.
Yeah, but they won't do it, right? They'll stand inside and they'll stand behind a wall where they can't see it and they'll tell you it's sunny. And that's where we're at. And it's nuts. And you go, but all you got to do is go here. And they're like, no, I'd rather stand over here and create as much problem as I can create and make it as hard on you as I can, even though I could walk 4 feet outside the door and confirm the very thing you're saying. And for some reason, we're stuck right there. That's my take on it. It's like people will not do that. So, look, here's a full disclosure thing. I didn't have a clue who this Maduro guy was as far as a human being. Never studied Venezuelan culture. Don't know anything about their inhabitants and what's going on in their country other than two things. And there's the reason that I know two things, and two things only about Venezuela. One, I went to Aruba and I spent about 4 hours on a boat with a cop talking about their drug interdiction stuff. That's where it enlightened me, because you never saw stories on these things. And then the second thing is I met a guy once. It was in a small group, and he had come here on a visa from Venezuela, and he was trying to get his family out. And he was saying that over there, it's not quite genocide, but it's close to it if you disagree with the dictator. And he didn't mention him by name. This was probably 5 years ago. I know that there's a lot of drug trafficking that comes out of there. I know there's a lot of bad things that happen. I know that it's the central focal point of America as far as the illegals or the illegal narcotic activity that is happening. That is a heavy focus for us, and then the CIA is involved. I mean, I've read many stories about Venezuela, but my two personal interactions, one of them was seeing it, where I could physically look across the water and go, look, there's Venezuela, and talk to the cop, and then the other one was talking to that guy. And listening to his story, he didn't expand on it very much. He just said, look, man, they're just killing people by the day over there. You disagree, you get offed, or your family disappears. And I go, really? He's like, yeah. So I'm not sure what America's defending right now. I'm not sure what people are defending in that. And that is, I guess that to me that's the troubling part. Because it's plain as the nose on my face, and you can't. It's like people just can't see it.
Well, I think that the easiest way, maybe not easy, but the best, most effective way to get people to see is the Nick Shirleys in the world.
Yeah, it's got to be exposed.
I think it's the Nick Shirleys in the world. I mean, sorry, I know it's Nick. If you ever listen to this, there's only one of you, buddy.
Yeah,
but
we're making you an adjective now.
The guys that are gonna actually get up and do something to try to show their fellow man, hey, just so you know, this is happening. This is what's going on. This is what our tax dollars are being used for. And I just think that there's so much more to uncover. Because if that was one video on YouTube uncovering $100+ million of fraud just in Minnesota. Think about how many states have $100 million of fraud that it would just take a little bit of digging and would be able to be uncovered.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Nick Shirley inspires people who represent multiple different states to start looking into some of these things and start maybe seeing if they can find just below the surface enough where it's attainable for them to find some figures, some facts, and be able to verify information enough to maybe pick up a camera, go out, and just start showing the world, hey, this is going on. Hey, this is, just so you're aware, I'm pretty sure this is what's happening. Still verifying. That's okay to say, too. You know, if you haven't completely gotten all of your facts and figures straight, say, hey, I'm investigating this, and it looks like this could potentially be happening. Still looking into this, but I'm pretty sure this is what's going on. I think there's so many different examples that probably exist throughout the entire country that if we had enough people start to actually do some journalism that way and show our country how much we're being taken advantage of, that's what we need, I think, to get to that point where there is this hard shift, where there is something that actually happens, whether it be a tax strike, whether it be...
Oh, that's possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, even right now, that's a very trending topic is a tax strike, which makes sense. I mean, with Doge and how much waste they've already uncovered, and then this whole thing in Minnesota with Nick Shirley, and people know, majority of people are smart enough to connect the dots. If it's going on in Minnesota, it's definitely going on. There was already multiple other states that people have started doing exactly what we're talking about and started reporting on these things. So, I mean, who are we going to count on to clean up this fraud? Because the government's not going to clean up the fraud. The government has a history of only increasing the budget, only asking for more taxes, not less.
Right. I want to ask you a question. I mentioned this earlier, and I know we talked about it last week at some point. It's been brushed under the rug, and again, I've said a lot of I don't understands this morning because I genuinely don't understand. This one boggles my mind because this one is blatant. It's signed. It's in law. It was filmed. He did it. And that's when Tim Walz signed in the driver's license things for legal or illegal. You can get a driver's license, and all you need in Minnesota is to vote. Why, in your mind, I can't make this make sense at all. Why did the Minnesota Supreme Court not immediately step in and go, you can't do that? You just bought an election. You can't give a driver's license to somebody, and that is their thoroughfare to a vote. That, to me, is, if I had to put a number on it, 1 billion times bigger in every conceivable way than the Somali fraud. 1 billion times bigger. Why? Because it is the conduit for every single problem we have politically, that you just bought a race, shifted the race into your favor, and then every single thing you want to accomplish, there is a tentacle that goes off of that. It touches Department of Defense. It touches bureaus of investigation. It touches grocery stores. It touches road and bridge. It touches everything. And it's like people just kind of went, yeah, and then just went on. That it could not be any more illegal. I can't even fathom a law that has been broken in 2025 that is bigger than that law. I don't think the Somali thing even remotely holds a candle to it in the wind. That's how big I think that is. And it's like nobody is discussing this. Minnesota just did something. Tim Walz just did something in Minnesota that if you started seeing this in 50 different states, nobody would need to show up to vote because there would be no reason to show up to vote. That's how dangerous that is. So if you've got, let's say Minnesota is let's say they're a blue state, but let's say they're a 49-49 state, and the 1% in the middle is the deciding vote. If you just bought 1 million votes, you just decided your election. Now extrapolate that out across the rest of the country. Take that out to the 10 major cities that are already controlling things, and now you've got 1 million more votes per 2 million more votes. Well, I sat down and did the math on it right out of the gate. Joe Biden received more votes than anybody in history, which is just absolute garbage. in the witching hour, media goes dark, things go dead. A few hours later, he comes back. He's won. And magically, all these votes appeared out of nowhere. Well, Tim Walz just did it and signed it into law on camera. Like, you can't be any more blatant than that. I mean, this stuff just fires me up inside because all of this stuff that we're doing, Victor's run, everything is predicated on stuff like that where one decision is made. And that's why we have state Supreme Courts. And I'm astonished that nobody's jumping up and down over this. I can't believe there's literally not protests in the streets from the Republican Party going, no. Like, are you kidding me right now? How many people did you just let in legally, in his mind? And so if the Minnesota State Supreme Court doesn't step in, then they're feckless and useless. They have no business being in business. Those judges need to step down tomorrow. That's my hard take on it.
Yeah, I just think that there must be a bunch of people representing Minnesota that they stand to gain something from that. That's why they're not speaking up. They stand to gain something, whether it's just their own seat being reelected into their own seat, whether it's blackmail or peer pressure to be able to stay in their seat, or whether it's the financial incentive of just participating in some of the fraud that's clearly going on there. There's got to be an incentive. So, whenever I think of Tim Walz signing something like that these guys can vote now, I think of just losers in any story, in any movie that you watch. There's some extreme examples that are just like gut-wrenching of, man, I cannot believe this. They were losing fair and square. They were losing the fight, and then they cheat. They try to clip the brake line before the race.
Mm-hmm.
They pull out a gun whenever it's supposed to be a fair fist fight.
Sure.
Whatever it may be. There's blatant cheating. This is not sportsmanlike conduct. This is not leading the country in a way that examples should be leading the country. This is cheating. This is the equivalent. This is worse than even what would be called like rage quitting, like, which is definitely somewhat of an example of what Tim just did. Just dropped out of the race, clearly not happy. But instead of just saying, you know what, they're probably going to win this next election, no, instead they double down and like, oh, nope, not anymore. Illegals, come to Minnesota. We're going to give you a driver's license. Vote for me. That is cheating, and it's disgusting. And to your point, yeah, very much so illegal. And it needs to be something that people talk about more and oppose more openly, because that definitely needs to be revisited. That definitely needs to be deemed completely unconstitutional.
Well, yeah, it needs to be redacted and pulled out immediately, taken out of law, and then somebody held to account on it. I mean, this stuff I just doubled down on. This would be like the gym, the jiu-jitsu gym down the street. Jared's down here, you're running your place, you got your families, things are going great. All of a sudden 100 people walk in and you're like, wow, what's going on? Like, oh, we're all here to roll because the guy down there said you have free classes forever. And then another 100 people come in the next day, and all of a sudden it's like you've increased your student load fivefold, but 400 of them came in for free, and now all of a sudden you're contending with it. And you're like, man, I can't house all these people. I mean, like, I want to be a nice guy, but it would never work, and you would never accept it. It would just never play out that way. And then, especially if they wanted it for free and had bad attitudes and look what we're doing, and they're just stealing from you, and you inherited that problem because somebody down there said it's perfectly okay for you to have that problem. And that's what they just did to Minnesotans. And that's what they're going to do to America is, I mean, so flip the script. You go to a red state, pick the brashest red state that you can come up with, and imagine if that just happened there. Imagine what would be on CNN, MSNBC, should it be on Al Jazeera or whatever that is tomorrow, if Texas went down and said, we're giving driver's licenses and all you need to vote red in Texas is a driver's license. And we're giving it to everybody coming over the border. All these people that are like sanctuary cities, bring them in. All of a sudden there would be a hard stop. It's like the no kings thing, right? And then all of a sudden now we're protesting against, we've got a dictator. It's just, it's the lunacy behind this stuff. If it was done on the other side of the aisle, this country would be at war right now because they'd be accusing them of the very thing that I'm saying out loud on this podcast right now. You just bought an election and nobody's pushing back. And it fires me up. And this is in part why I'm so excited to get Victor Marx on here, because it's a man of principle. He's a man of integrity and character. And I want to hear, what would you do in a scenario like that? Because at the end of the day, the average person with a lick of common sense knows, to your point, it's cheating, it's stolen, it's rigged, everything about it. My question is why was it not immediately addressed and redacted? Why did the Supreme Court not come in and go, no, that could not be any more illegal? You literally just changed the voting demographic of the state overnight. And because you're the governor and you slam your pen down and go, it's done. I mean, watching the video was disturbing. You know, these people cheering in the background. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're cheering for right now and what he just did, the impact of that. And that stuff just drives me nuts. I'm just I guess I'm the consummate pessimist today, but I walked up, I opened up the news and I'm looking at this stuff and I'm going, where is this story?
Yeah. The best part in the news, if I'm speaking for myself, is that tax strike is trending.
It is trending.
That's the best news. We'll see what happens about that. But I mean, think about how life-changing it would be for Americans if we didn't have to pay 30 to 40% of our money to the federal government.
Yeah.
Think about how huge that is. Think about how many people could actually be able to start a family that are maybe too stressed to start a family right now because of economics. Think about how many people would have a better family dynamic because they'd have relief. I mean, Trump's campaign has been run on America first. If it's really America first, listen, it gets me excited every time that I see Trump talk about income tax and the potential of it going away. I get it. There's a lot of skeptics that are out there. But it seems that he's really actually trying to work toward that becoming a reality.
Dude, he could cure cancer of every type tomorrow and people would hate him.
Well, yeah, of course. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier in the episode. But regardless, I'm optimistic about that. That would be life-changing for so many people.
Yes, it would.
It'd be life-changing for me. It'd be life-changing for all of us. And I think that if we did that, America would really become a healthier country. And we would definitely, I think, have a whole lot less tension among ourselves if we weren't having to just work for the man every day and know, man, I'm only going to be able to keep about 60 to 70% of this that I'm working for. I mean, imagine just how stressful that is. How is that freedom? How is that liberty? I mean, I get it. We're thankful that we're able to exercise and practice our freedoms, such as being able to come to a gym and sit here and have a podcast, or sitting in a building that I got to pay taxes on annually. Even if I were to have, when I pay my final note on the building, even if I pay that final note today, I still got to pay the government. I still got to pay Colorado. I still got to pay those property taxes. So do I really own this building, or am I just renting it from the government?
Yeah.
And why is it that the government owns something that we built and we paid for? Well, how does that make any sense? How is that freedom? It's not really that fair, is it? That doesn't sound like a very free country. It's pretty amazing whenever you go down the rabbit trail of looking into how many taxes we pay. Even if we wanted to move somewhere, they try to get us on taxes. Did you know that? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't even know that. You try to get citizenship somewhere else. You got to buy yourself out of slavery apparently.
Dude, that one
might stir some feathers there.
Debbie Downer episode. No, and I am with you as far as the optimistic front on change that potentially could be coming, because we've all seen it, right? But Reagan said something very, very important, and I think people have forgotten this, is we're always one generation away from failure. The collapse of a nation is always one generation away. And right now it seems like, from what I'm watching, is we're headed in that direction with a lot of people. And the Charlie Kirks of the world, we need more of them. We need the Nicks of the world stepping up for sure. But we need accountability. We need term limits. I mean, if there was two things that I would put into play tomorrow if I was governor, it'd be accountability and it'd be term limits, or president. I mean, and obviously Congress would fight it because they want to stay in power. But that would be the first two things that I would do. We're going to hammer. We're going to investigate. We're going to bring people to account. We're going to hold you to account. And oh, by the way, here's your term limit. I read something online yesterday. A senator put out And he said, and it was very interesting because I think the whole point of his message was supposed to be talking about how bad the swamp is. And the first thing he said, in my 20 years as a senator, and I never got past that sentence because the first thing I thought was, well, there's your problem. So whatever you're going to state, whether it be true or not true, my 20 years as a senator, that curtailed the argument for me. It should be in my 2 terms that I'm allowed to serve as a senator. Here's what I've learned. And as my predecessor comes in, I'm hoping in their 2 terms, if they win, this is what they can address. And instead, we've got guys that are 55 years in.
That's horrible.
It's Nancy Pelosi, $175,000 a year, worth $300 million, whatever she's worth. It's just, we could go on and on and on in the negative. I am very hopeful, though, for Victor. I'm very hopeful for where Colorado could head. In fact, I think if he gets in and does the things that are actually he's capable of doing, Colorado becomes the Wild West again. I said it, I think 4 or 5 podcasts ago. I believe.
Can I get an amen?
I do, man. I genuinely believe we just need people that care from the heart, that have the strength to stand, the fortitude to stand. They're unafraid, unapologetic, but they're doing the right thing. Like, that's the key. You got to do the right thing. You can't just come in and be fearless. Like, you got to have a lick of common sense. And he clearly does. I mean, everything he's put out, I watch, I go, how would the average human just not be excited about this? Regardless even of your political stance. Don't you just want peace? Don't you want some degree of equality? Don't you want everybody to have a fair start at the starting line, regardless of how they finish? Don't you want that afforded to you? Don't you want the Bill of Rights to stay intact? Don't you want to drive up and down the roadway and know that you're not going to get shot on 225 going down Mississippi Avenue? Because you have people of integrity and authority that are willing to do it. Like, that to me just seems like common sense, but I seem to be the outlier on that. And I guess that's why this episode for me was a little harder, because I'm coming off of a weekend where I'm watching 2 different families that I sat down with, one at church and one outside of church, that are like, yeah, we're moving. And these are people that I care about. Like, these are people that are in my life, and they're like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And part of it part of it was a financial. One of them had a job opportunity to go, and I totally get it. Like, he's going to make more money, spend less to go somewhere else, take care of your family. No argument on that. But that wasn't his real reason for leaving. He's like, the job came second. It was the emotion and the connection back to all of this stuff that is happening. And he's like, I feel like I've just lost the state that I was born and raised in. And I've been here for 49 years. And my kids are graduating this year. And as soon as they're out of school, man, we are southbound and down. And that's hard when you got people that are in your circle and you're going, oh, okay, this is family number 7. Here's number 8. Here's number 9. So I'm hoping we can restore some of that to where people don't feel like they need to flee. Because I said it previously. I'm like, man, if he doesn't win, if the midterms go down, and I am all in for the guy. I mean, he's got the character, the charisma, the capability, the fortitude, all of that stuff. I'll support his campaign as much as I can. But on the 98% that I think he's going to win, I always leave a 2% out because of the Tim Walzes of the world signing stupid documents that enable people to be able to go cheat. If he's done, I don't know, man. I don't know that I could sit here. I've been here 25 years and I've watched this place erode more in the last 5 years. If we don't have a hard pendulum swing back the other direction, it would be hard to stay for me. And I got a lot of life here, a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of everything. And it has gotten to a point. I'm like, I'm 57, man. I don't know. Maybe it would be a point in time where I got to sit down and I got to start making a serious decision about it. Because like you, I love Colorado. When we go into the backcountry and do the things we do, that to me is Colorado. And the Colorado spirit and the people that are true Coloradans, not these implants, they love it here. They absolutely love it here. The people that were born and bred here, my daughter, oh my gosh, she thrives in Colorado. There's something about this state that is extra special. And I feel like it's being torn out from underneath us right now. So I'm going to support the man that I believe can stop some of this stuff and hopefully affect change. But to your point, we got to have people going out and investigating things and opening this stuff up. We got to expose the stuff for what it is. We need some courageous people to step up, and we need some dangerous gentlemen, as Victor Marx would say.
Yep. Dangerous gentlemen. I think I've said my piece. If you've said your piece, we got a lot more that we're going to continue to talk about in the next episode. But for now, and you know what? I think I quoted the episode count wrong earlier because today's 57. Thursday's going to be 58. And then we're going to have 59. So Victor Marx is going to be episode 60.
Yeah.
Victor Marx will be episode 60 next week. So stay tuned in. We will have those exciting episodes coming out over the next week, and very excited for how this show is kicking off for 2026. Even in the face of evil, men, women,
Good
keep
men
on
step up.
standing up,
Yep.
standing in truth. God's got it.
Yep. Amen. All right. I'll pray us out. Father God, thank you for an opportunity to turn into a new year. And as heavy as everything feels right now and as negative as it feels and all things we're pointing out, we know there's a battle plan in place, and we know there's good men that are willing to stand in the face of it. But I think there's a collective need right now to bring other good men into the fray. And my prayer is that many men's hearts will be answered on their willingness to step forward if they're in the battleground of wondering why they should or should not, that you give them peace of mind to step into that fray, because that's what this country's going to need. It's what the state's going to need. I ask that you, as always, watch over our families and all we do. Keep us covered in your shield of protection, and may we follow in your word. In your son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Till next time.
Till next time.